And then when it gets hard, and we're doing this. We're all jammed up looking like Chris Farley, doing tricep extensions, doing this stuff. We want this, right?
And I live in a van down by the river.
Is your form still Let's fix it. What is up? It's your boy Johnny Shreve. I have BB Probes and Tell Like It Is. Welcome back to the channel. We're here at the Blue Star Nutraceuticals headquarters bathroom, and we're gonna fix your form. So stick around. Let me wash my hands first. Okay, so common mistakes, bicep curls. I'm gonna show you guys what I see first, and let me know if you see yourself doing these common mistakes. I'm gonna do a alternating bicep curl, and then we're gonna do bicep curls together. So we have this, or we have this, or how many people do this? Right? What our goal is when we're doing these lifts is to isolate the muscle. We wanna single out the muscle. We wanna put it on a pedestal and make sure it's the only thing getting the attention of that time of your training session. So we're doing dumbbell curls. The way we can isolate the bicep is by making sure nothing moves but the elbow basically curling, elbow flexion. So we want to achieve this without any other body English. So what I mean by body English is basically this. Your body is going to try to do the most inefficient thing possible to get the weight up. Your body's not thinking proper form, it's just thinking it needs to lift this item or object up. So right away your body's going to find a way to make it super easy. It knows that there is something heavy in the arm, and when it starts to curl, it's going to want to make it easy by maybe shrugging the shoulder, pulling in the shoulder this way, and then pulling the weight up, right? This is actually curling, and it's helping the curl. It's getting the weight up. But we have to take total control of the body, make sure that this is the only thing moving. So how we do this is, I'm gonna do it without weight. Number one, I always say, from floor to core, let's make sure we're well grounded on the ground. We're well grounded on the ground. Let's make sure we're standing in a nice athletic position, a little bit outside shoulder width apart. Right? You should be able to move. If somebody comes in the gym one day, you're like, I gotta go. You can get out of there. You don't wanna be stuck, like this or too wide. Anyway, from floor to core, shoulders are gonna be back and away from your ears. And right now, we call it basically shoulder depression. So put it this way. If I take my hands like this and push them to the ground and I try to touch the floor without bending my hips or anything, I'm just trying to literally touch the floor, I'm depressing my shoulders, right? Now, to make it easier, let's do this. Let's bend our arms like this. Let's pull them out a little bit. Let's make our elbows go in front of our body. We're gonna have our shoulders back away from our ears, and now we're gonna try to touch the floor with our elbows, right? Now you probably feel your lats or this part on your armpits feeling pretty tight. That means that the shoulder now no longer can move up. If we are engaging our lats or pushing our arms to the floor, our traps cannot elevate the shoulder. Your traps and your lats can't move at the same time. They're antagonist muscles, just like this and this. We can't protract and retract at the same time. So we're going to basically push your shoulders to the floor. Now while I'm doing this and we're both doing this together, I'm gonna let my arms relax. You can see how when I pull my arm up, nothing's moving. Absolutely nothing is moving but my arm. My bicep is curling the weight, or my hands. Now we're just gonna add a load to that. We're just gonna put weights in our hands. And while we do that, that shouldn't contradict what we've just done. So it's gonna take a lot of control or self-control for you to get yourself in the mindset that you're going to stay in this position the entire time. So I've now picked up the dumbbells and we're gonna do alternating curls. We're gonna keep our arms basically at our side, and while we're pushing the weight or having the weight come in front of us, we're letting that weight keep us in that positioning where our shoulders are still depressed. I don't wanna pull my arm up like this and try to curl. We're trying to avoid that. So what we're doing is letting the weight naturally depress our shoulders. Then we're gonna aid it by pushing down as well too. And then when we're curling up and twisting the dumbbell in that supinated position, we're still driving the elbow down to the floor. You see how I'm still driving my elbow to the floor? And then on the way down, same thing. And same with the other arm. I'm gonna pull through and push the elbow to the floor while I'm curling up. This is going to help us avoid any shoulder elevation by the traps. We don't want this, right? We wanna have our shoulders locked into place, chest up, and when we're curling, our shoulders stay in place, and the only thing that's really getting any type of activation or engagement is the bicep. And I recommend doing it this slow, because you're gonna be able to feel the weight that much better than just throwing it up. Let me give you guys a cool analogy. You can take this for your entire video. Pretend you're walking down the street and you stop for a second, and then somebody runs by you and screams out your name. Just sprints by you, zoom. Hey Johnny, where'd you go? You might probably remember maybe the color shirt they were wearing. I don't know, you might. You might remember something, but you're not gonna remember that much at all. Take that same person that runs by you, stops, and talks for like a minute. You might not know everything about that person, but you're definitely gonna remember a lot of things. Think of that as the conversation you're having with your muscles, your mind and muscle connection. Doing that nice slow tempo is like somebody coming by and having a nice conversation with you, so you can remember at least something of the interaction. The slower we do this, the better chance we have of our mind and our muscle having this nice, long conversation that when it's done, your mind and your muscles remember something. In these terms, good form. Elbow to the floor, keep your shoulder in place, nice slow rep, contracting the muscle. You can do the same thing with dumbbell curls, barbell curls, ease bar curls, cable curls. Lock the shoulders in place, shoulder depression, and just make sure we're curling from the elbows and not from the shoulder, not from the hips, not from the back. A couple of the cues with bicep curls, I'm going to apply it to your tricep cable rope extensions. Now, when we're doing this, a couple common mistakes I'm going to show you guys right away is, number one, we have the elbows sitting at our side, and then we're too close, and then we're trying to pull, and then we get in the way. The cable gets in the way, and our body just gets in the way. And we're doing this. And then when it gets hard, and we're doing this. And we're all jammed up looking like Chris Farley, doing tricep extensions, doing this stuff. We want this, right?
And I live in a van down by the river.
So remember that cue we were talking about before we used the dumbbell curls? Same idea. Number one, we're gonna make sure we're in an athletic position. We're gonna step back a little bit further away from the cables. We need to be all like this, doing cable curls. This doesn't work. Exaggeration, but I've seen it happen before, trust me. We wanna get ourselves back far enough that when we're pulling this thing down, it kind of stays in this alignment this way and even come back, but we don't want it to be in the way of us, or we don't want to get in the way of it when we're actually trying to do the exercise. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this rope. Now, a couple things before we even start pulling. This rope isn't made for you to do this, right? This isn't the reason why this is a rope. The rope is created to give you a good, easy, free motion line of pull so that our hands can come to the side of our body the entire time that we're doing the movement. Don't think your rep success is by you straightening this rope at the bottom or doing this with your wrist at the bottom. You moving your wrist at the bottom does not do anything to your tricep. Now, if you look at me right now, I'm flexing my tricep. It's fully extended. Right? I am fully flexed. Now I'm gonna move my wrist. Do you see anything happening to my tricep? Nothing is happening to my tricep. So while we're holding this rope, let's make sure that we keep our wrist in a nice neutral position, that it stays like this. We don't want any wrist English. That's the thing. Now, to make sure that we don't have this weight coming into our body when we're pulling, we're gonna extend the elbows out. If you look at the angle where my elbows are, the rep is gonna finish at where my elbows are. It's gonna finish in front. If this is too close to my body, guess what? It's gonna hit me. And if you're using something like a bar or a V-bar, you're gonna get in the way. You're not gonna be able to actually get a full range of motion because you're in the way. So what we're gonna do is, and going back to that cue we use for dumbbell curls, I'm gonna take my elbows, push them in front. I'm gonna push my elbows to the floor. Right away, I'm actually putting tension already on the cables by just depressing my shoulders, trying to touch the floor with my elbows. Now, while I'm in there, in that position and active, I'm gonna stay there. And then from here, I'm gonna make sure that my hands are open up so they're right beside my body. If you look, here's what it looks like from here. We don't wanna be here, we wanna be here. So when we finish the lift or a rep, we're pushing down, elbows are pushing down on the floor, we're extending all the way down, and we finish in front. And now my tricep is on fire right now, and I'm getting a really good burn just from one rep being in this position. A couple things to understand. Your triceps help with shoulder extension. It does help with pulling your arm all the way back. So while we extend our range of motion or a line of pull, once we get here and we are still pushing our elbows to the floor, you might be able to feel your triceps burning that much more, which is what you want. Now while we're here, again, bring in a nice athletic position with our feet, nice little bend in our knees and a little bit of a hinge and still activating the core. So we keep a nice neutral spine. And then from there, we're just gonna let the elbows flex. And while I'm doing that, I'm still pushing my elbows to the floor. And then on the way down, I'm pulling through. At the bottom of this lift, I'm gonna extend that elbow pushing to the floor by now my fists pushing to the floor as well too. That's gonna keep my shoulders from doing this. Now, if we wanna get a little bit more of a drive at the top of the lift or at the end of the set, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of the elbows doing this. There's nothing wrong with this. What we don't want is this. So even though that my elbows are kind of flaring a little bit forward, they're still being pushed to the floor. So we can do this because we want full range of motion to the top, because we want full flexion of the elbows to get full extension. And then doing it slow again. You'll be able to feel your triceps that much more, and you'll be able to control the weight that much more, and you'll find that your muscle-mind connection becomes stronger and stronger by every rep. So, just a little recap. Standing back a little bit further away from the cables. Get a nice athletic position. Grab your handles. Tuck your elbows to the side of your body. Push your elbows in front, and then try to touch the floor. So there's already tension on the cables. Engage your core, and then we're just gonna push down, lock right out, flex all the way through, and then controlling it back up. And then say do like a 1 second positive, 1001, 1002, 1, 1001, 1002, 1, 1001, 1002. Every rep will take 3 seconds. You do 10 to 15 reps. That's a 30 to 45 second set. Do 3 sets of those, and you got some burning triceps. So make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share. You guys know what it is. Iron sharpens iron. Progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace.